everyone and welcome back to the Bare Threads. This is another sewing video. This is another one that I'm kind of pre-filming well in advance. So I've done a few for Christmas makes that won't actually be published until like January, I think, or at least, I mean, it would have to be after Christmas, so very late December, but I think I've scheduled them all for January. This one is a birthday present for boyfriend. His birthday is towards the end of November, so this is probably going to go up in December. So I guess I should be like more festive, but it's still October right now. And I also feel very like spring-like and Valentine's Day-y because I've put on my pink heart jumper. But yeah, I've made him a new top. Have to insert a picture somewhere. Yeah, even when inserting the picture, it still doesn't look, I don't know, it doesn't look great because I had to lay it down flat. I don't really have a model. He would never want to be in a video at all. But obviously I've also not given it to him yet because it's not his birthday yet. So hopefully you can kind of see from the picture that it is a turtleneck top. This is the turtleneck. It looks like huge. And then I'm not quite sure how to style it. We'll have to figure that out. So I'm just kind of folding it over. And it still looks kind of funny like that. Yeah, so I think it just needs a little bit of working in and figuring out how it's going to actually sit when he wears it. But it's quite hard to like position it on like a flat garment when obviously human beings are not flat. So this is the Grasser pattern. I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce Grasser. I've heard people say Grasser, but it is a Russian pattern company. I did try and Google what Grasser means, like if it is an actual Russian word, and I couldn't find it. So if anyone knows, please let me know. But it was a bit hard to look for a translation because it's transliterated. So I'm seeing it in the like English alphabet, which I forget the name of, but actually it would be written in the Russian alphabet. So I'm looking at a translation of meaning, but also a translation of different alphabet, and it's a little bit harder to then find that translation online. But the pattern is a free men's pattern. So I was doing a bit of a hunt for free patterns. I was also doing a bit of a hunt to get more men's patterns, and I didn't find very many free ones. So I did want to try this one out to make something a little bit different with the turtleneck. This pattern gives you the turtleneck, also a short sleeve t-shirt and a long sleeve top. The long sleeve top is just the same as the t-shirt from what I can gather, apart from obviously having a longer sleeve. And then it also has a singlet, or what I would call a tank top. I think the tank top is actually the most different of the four garments because you would have the kind of binding around the armholes instead of the sleeves, whereas all the other three have sleeves. The turtleneck is basically the long sleeve top, but instead of having the normal neckband, you have just like a very, very tall neckband. It kind of fits essentially the same way. It's just like a much kind of bigger piece of fabric to cut out and then attach. In terms of the pattern, I didn't love how they'd done it. There was text and pictures. There is quite a lot of information in there. But there's a lot of the same instructions for the different garments that are within the pattern. And so when it gets to a point in the pattern where the instructions are pretty similar, it refers you back to the previous garment for more detail. And so when you get down to like the last one in there, the last one in the instructions, you're getting very like brief explanation of the steps. There wasn't a ton of detail in the steps overall, to be honest with you, but I think there was more pictures in the earlier instructions, so I kept having to go back and forward between the two, and I found that just a bit frustrating. And also I think that's how you end up missing steps or getting slightly confused and following the wrong step or forgetting which garment you're on. I just carried on working through the like long sleeve top for a while, and then I realised, oh, actually I'm not actually on the turtleneck patterns instructions. That being said, it is a very straightforward put together. So you have the front, the back, the sleeves. You just hem the sleeves, and there's no cuffs. You hem the bottom of the garment, and then you have the turtleneck. But like I said, that is attached in very much the same as like a neckband would be. So if you've already made a few tops before, you probably don't even need to really look at the instructions. I just think if it's a free pattern, then it's much more likely that it's going to be for a beginner, because a beginner is not going to want to invest as much money in buying patterns. And also because it is a more simple pattern, there's not like fastenings and bells and whistles attached. It's a top pattern, a fairly standard one. Again, you would think, I would assume that it was going to be for a beginner, and so I would think that you'd want the instructions to be like super clear, and it kind of puts me off getting anything else from them, or trying the other free pattern that I downloaded from them, which was for a skirt, for a women's skirt, well, or for a men, or for whoever wants to wear a skirt, really. It kind of puts me off doing it, just because I got a bit irritated by it, even though I didn't have any major catastrophes because of it. It just kind of annoyed me. So I would worry that the more complex patterns that I would get from them, that I would actually have to pay for and buy, would be as confusing for me, and so that puts me off. I don't know if anyone feels the same way, or if anyone's used any of the Grasser patterns and thinks that the instructions are good, bad, indifferent. Let me know what you think. Yeah, the construction went fine. I did manage it fine. I didn't really need to look at the instructions that much because I have made a top before and it's pretty much the same thing. As always, the instructions assume that you have an overlocker slash serger, which is another pet peeve of mine, because they're expensive. It's like buying a second sewing machine again. They're also like, where do you put them? Like, I don't have a sewing room, so I don't have loads of extra space for another appliance. So I don't have an overlocker, which is fine, like you don't need one, but it does annoy me a little bit when these patterns assume that you have one, especially again for what is probably going to be a pattern that a beginner would want to use. And I don't know that you can make an assumption that a beginner has both a sewing machine and an overlocker. So the seam allowances are quite small. That's usually what you get when they assume you're going to use an overlocker, which can make it a little bit fiddly. And also they don't really give you very much information about how to finish a seam. So I just left all mine raw. It's only for my boyfriend. And he'll probably complain about something and I'll have to unpick it and restitch it anyway. So it makes more sense to leave it raw in some ways. But it's fine. It's around the neckline where it's going to be potentially the most visible. They are curling up a little bit. They could do with a bit more of an iron, but honestly, like, I ironed it and it's just looks exactly the same as it did before I ironed it. Probably worse because I've scrunched it up so much. Yeah, I'm just going to leave the seams unfinished. I don't think he'll care that much. You can't really see them from the outside. Even inside the bottom of the sleeves, it looks fine. Not a professional job, but if I wanted a professional job I would have bought one, you know. The fabric is nice. It's a jersey, I think cotton jersey, now I can't remember. I got quite a lot of it, quite well discounted from Frumble Fabrics quite a while ago. It has like an error in it, call it an error. So I have loads left over, and the issue with it is that it has these like funny white dots every so often that you probably won't be able to see. So can you see that? There's just like a little white dot, but it seems to run down in kind of a line where either it's just not like dyed it or printed it properly, so it's just left the fabric, it's like white base colour. It didn't bother me at all, and like I said, it was heavily discounted. When I bought it ages ago, I had no idea what I was going to do with it, and I was going to do something for me, and I ummed and ahed, and then I was going to make something for my boyfriend. I was going to buy new fabric to do that, and then just thought that's silly, just use the existing fabric, especially since it is in a more muted kind of grey colour with a little black kind of raindrop shapes. It makes it a bit more interesting than just if it was just grey, but it makes it more likely that he'll wear it than if it had been in like a really bright colour. But I personally prefer the bright colours, so for me I would have found this a little bit too muted for me. So I think it actually works better for him. But now I do have, again, I'm left with like an annoying amount of the fabric left over that's not enough for me. So if I have time, I might actually make like a little matching top for my son, and then they can match. Should be really cute, especially if I can find like a kid's turtleneck pattern, but I kind of don't want to have to buy more patterns, so I don't know if I could maybe just use an existing t-shirt or top and then kind of try and you know, work out my own pattern for that turtleneck part, because it is just like a big rectangle fabric, so it's just making sure that it's not too tight or too loose or too tall or whatever. So if I measure his neck later, it'd be a bit weird, but yeah, I might make the little matching tops. But yeah, that was my experience with the Grasser pattern for the turtleneck. This is the finished result, which looks amazing like that. There we go. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, give me a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you next time.